So, at this point, I am traveling between BC and Nashville. I am doing music full time. I'm on this momentum forward. I'm feeling good. I am doing everything. And then all of a sudden in February 2019, everything comes to a halt. And let me explain. I woke up one morning with half of my face paralyzed, and I was completely terrified because I had no idea what was happening to my body, what the hell was going on, and it turned out that I had developed Bell's palsy, which for those of you who aren't familiar with it, I was not until I had it. What it is that it's compression to the 7th cranial nerve that causes facial paralysis, and the doctors were telling me that it could take anywhere from 3 months to ? To recover. Immediately, everything was put on pause. It was a really difficult time for me because in that moment, I had no control. My body was in control of when I would recover. And so I started treatment. I personally did a combination of the steroids and the medication that my doctor prescribed. And I also started getting acupuncture done. And along with that, I had to take a look at myself and really look deeper into what was the root cause of this. Energetically speaking, physically, we know exactly what happened. Somehow one of, the nerve had become compressed, which ultimately caused the paralysis. But the work that I'd been doing of understanding that everything has a root cause of it started this investigation process for myself to look within and see what's going on that I'm not addressing, that all of a sudden this is surfacing as a physical illness. And so I had a friend, she recommended looking into Louise Hay, and I also recommend looking into her stuff. And the energetic link that she had written about with Bell's palsy was an over control of emotions and an inability to express anger. And so I read that and thought, what the hell? And it awoken this whole other side of me that I was completely ignoring. I was ignoring my emotional self so much over the years because my coping mechanism, whenever something, undesirable happened or any type of trauma or whatever, my instinct was to just push it down and say, everything's fine, everything's good, don't worry about it. And so my way of coping was to suppress those emotions, which then led to this physical manifestation of frozenness. And so I spent every day walking, being in nature, gratitude journals. I really started to understand how unhealthy it is to hold emotion within ourselves. And I realized through this experience, well, first of all, I had the perspective of this Bell's palsy not happening to me, but happening for me. And so instead of sitting, mind you, I did sit there for a few days and I was pissed and I was angry and I was frustrated because I had to put all my work on hold. Everything was in this pause mode and I had to address my physical health. And so don't worry, I definitely had that moment, but then once I got over that, I started asking the question, what do I need to learn from this experience? Like, why is this happening for me? And through that, I learned how important it is to address the emotional self, which then really, strengthened even the work that I'd been listening to with Abraham Hicks about coming from a place of emotion, because emotion is energy in motion. That is how we connect to any type of manifesting, any type of, like, really anything in life. It all comes down to emotion, that you can say whatever, but unless you're feeling that emotion that's in alignment with what you're putting out there, or what you're, not into the universe per se, but to other people, the interpersonal relationships and work environments and all of that. Unless, like, if your emotions aren't lined up with what you're saying, then it doesn't mean anything. And so that was a huge thing that I learned from there. And I learned to get really quiet. And that's where I'm circling back to my original definition of what spirituality means to me, was that I was forced to be in a place of stillness and silence and really tuning into the whisper that the universe says. With the Bell's palsy, that was a huge scream from the universe being like, you need to stop what you're doing and address this, because how can you progress to the next goal or really become that next version of yourself unless you let go of the stuff that you've been holding on to? And so it really was this crazy experience. First of all, with my acupuncture experiences, I was very much having out-of-body experiences, very deep meditative state. And so that was also a really interesting experience, and starting to feel the energy move within the body. And so that was pretty trippy, but also very, very helpful in my own understanding of my spirit, my body, my soul. And it really was that cocooning moment for me, like when you think of the caterpillar and the cocoon into the butterfly. And so, so Bell's palsy, as scary as it was in that moment, it also was this true blessing that it gave me that time I needed to rest and to really evaluate. And so my hope for you is that you're able to do that work without having something major intersect and collide with your life that causes you to completely stop everything. And so that's why I share it, is sharing the lessons that I've learned from it, of how to work through emotions as opposed to bottling them up and like putting them off to the side and being like, no, it's fine. I think the biggest thing that I took away from having Bell's palsy and from going through that experience and working through it was my connection to myself. And not in the way of, having these huge aha moments and these grand gestures of spiritual awakening, but really understanding that it is a quiet and very personal journey, which is what I touched on at the beginning of the podcast. And the book that I have to thank for setting that new path in motion was Deepak Chopra's The Book of Secrets. This was sitting in my mom's closet, I think, for years. I don't know if she ever read, I think she started reading it and then it just sat there. And so I had noticed it. And oddly enough, it has a butterfly on the cover, which I love. And so I spent every day reading this book. And if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it if you're looking for something to dive into in terms of like just understanding life as a whole. And it really simplified things for me, and it really, really resonated. I was able to spend a lot of time in nature, And so I learned the importance of getting outside, of connecting to the ground, to the animals, to everything that this earth has to offer. And I also learned that spirituality is a quiet practice. It is something that's very personal. And this book, along with my healing process, really set a new trajectory on just finding simpler ways to live. Because we make things a lot more complicated than they need to be. And I still catch myself doing that. And I think as time goes on, and the more we're aware of the notion that life can be simple, really creates space for those right opportunities to come to us, as opposed to letting ourselves be distracted by the drama, by, just shit that doesn't matter. And so, that's really where this idea of live simple came from, was when I had Bell's palsy, because I learned we really don't need a lot to thrive in this world. I mean, yes, nice things are nice, don't get me wrong. Abundance is incredible, and being able to do that, but having the core foundation of who you are as a person, I believe, is the most important commitment you need to make to yourself. Because if you continue to look for external validation or look for material things to satisfy or fulfill you, you're never going to find it. It needs to come from that place of the inner world. And so that is really where Live Simple came from, was that journey that I had of exploring my own inner world and taking the steps and doing the work, quote unquote, to clear out the unnecessary junk that was causing me to be distracted, that was causing me to not do the things that I want to do, to, focus on shit that just doesn't matter in the bigger picture, because all that matters is our own connection to ourself. And through working on the inner world, then the external world starts to reveal itself of, it is a mirror that if we're so junked up inside that we're only going to experience that projection into the outer world. So through your relationships, through your friends, through whatever comes your way. And I'm really hitting it home with this. I'm really repeating myself a lot, because this is the biggest thing that I learned from Bell's palsy, was really examining what's going on inside and clearing out so that you can fill yourself with a quiet confidence of stillness and unconditional love and empathy and compassion. And so, full circle back to Live Simple and what my mission is here. My mission is to encourage you to practice self-love, practice self-compassion, practice self-empathy, because that is the dominant thing to do if we want to truly ascend and create a better world for all of us, is to look within and to start with you as the individual. Yes, you are worthy of love. You are worthy of having a fulfilled life and feeling satisfied in what you are doing. And yes, there are a lot of bumps on the road, but you can start right now by just turning within yourself and saying, I love you. I love me. And for so long, I'm going to use myself as an example. As a millennial, I was raised by television. And so think about this, that like from a young age, we're being fed magazines and TV shows and all these things that this this like unattainable goal of what it means to be a success, to be attractive, to be whatever. And you know, I was taught at a young age, and not through my parents, but just through society, that a woman should be a certain way and act a certain way and look a certain way. But that's not fulfilling. That's constantly like chasing after something that's not within ourselves. And so it is my mission with this, is to remind you that you are perfect just the way you are, that you have something beautiful within yourself, and that it is up to you if you choose to tap into that. And I'm here to help. I'm here to help guide and to share and to have conversations about these topics, and creating a space that encourages you to practice self-love, to practice self-empathy and compassion, because when we care for ourselves and we put ourselves first for that moment to be able to be our full self, then we're able to give and have that spread into the external world, have that compassion pour out of you to then help other people. And it really is this ripple effect. If you imagine imagine yourself a rock being thrown into a lake, that main point right there is you, and that by really tapping into your own intuition and becoming that person that you're meant to become, then that will positively affect the people around you. On the flip side of it, if you choose not to do that, then that also has an effect on the people around you, and that it really is up to you. And how amazing that we're here on this planet in this time, that we have the ability to co-create with the universe and co-create with our spirit, with ourself in this physical realm. I think it is amazing. And with that being said, all of the things that I've talked about in this chapter have now led to 2020 of the COVID pandemic that's happening around us. And I'm not going to touch on today of my thoughts on what's going on, but ultimately there is a huge shift happening. I know a few friends of mine and myself, we've been talking about this shift happening for a few years now, but it is really happening on a global scale. You can see it anywhere you look. And so what I want to leave with you on this episode is to take care of yourself, to practice that self-love, practice forgiveness for yourself, and just remember that you're loved and love yourself. And I think that's it for now. This has been a good one. Thank you so much for listening. I am so grateful for you tuning in and listening to this episode. And if you like what you hear, I am on Instagram at Live Simple Meditations. I'm working on building that platform. So if any of the messages today resonate with you, please leave a review. Let me know. And also feel free to leave a voice message on the Anchor app. And I look forward to next week's episode. And until next time, take care and love yourself.